billions of dollars with Canada. Canada doesn't take, I mean, they're very restrictive as to taking our agricultural product and other things. And, you know, all of these countries, including the European Union, they charge 5 times the tariff. We don't charge tariffs, essentially. They charge 5 times what we charge for tariffs. And I believe in the word reciprocal. You're going to charge 5 times, we're going to charge 5 times. That hasn't been done. No other president ever brought it up. And it's going to be done now. So we're...
Hello, how you doing? My name is Antonio. My page is Unapologetically Black, ADOS. I asked on YouTube, I ask that you like and subscribe to the video and share this message. I say American democracy is about to fall, and I can say that with certainty. It's because it's under attack from within. Donald Trump is the Manchurian.
Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau recently visited the White House for the first time since Donald Trump took office. At a press conference, Trump and Trudeau discussed the close economic relationship between the United States and Canada.
Any day I get to visit our southern neighbors is a good day in my books.
Canada is currently America's #2 trading partner in the world after China.
35 U.S. states list Canada as their largest export market, and our economies benefit from the over $2 billion in two-way trade that takes place every single day.
Last year, we exported $226 billion in goods such as food, car parts, and airplanes. We also import a lot from Canada, including crude oil, pharmaceuticals, and other essentials like pop stars and actors.
I'm saying hindsight should be 2020. We as the people should be able to look at a prior president's policies and behaviors and see how those behaviors and policies affected the American economy. But because we are so caught up in cultural wars, we cannot look at the actual actions and what they have caused or created in our economy. I say that Trump was a Manchurian candidate because he did things
by reimposing aluminum tariffs on Canada. Canada was taking advantage of us, as usual. And I signed it, and it imposes, because the aluminum business was being decimated by Canada, very unfair to our jobs and our great aluminum workers. 7 months ago, my administration agreed to lift those tariffs in return for a promise from the Canadian government that its aluminum industry would not flood our country with exports and kill all our aluminum jobs, which is exactly what they did. Canadian aluminum producers have broken that commitment, and the U.S. Trade Representative Robert Lighthizer has advised me that this step to reimpose tariffs is absolutely necessary to defend our aluminum industry. To be a strong nation, America must be a manufacturing nation and not be led by a bunch of fools.
What Trump did here, complaining about the aluminum we was getting from Canada, when actually the influx of cheap aluminum is coming from Russia, was a means to sever our ties with Canada, because what Russia was doing was insulating themselves for the upcoming sanctions when they invaded Ukraine. They had used the power of America to isolate Ukraine, Iran, get the United Nations to agree to apply sanctions on them, taking their oil off the international market, right? And simultaneously create a conflict between America and Canada. Another country that produced this is the fifth largest oil producing nation, and also the 5th largest aluminum producing nation, and we receive 85% of their aluminum, but the cheap, low-cost aluminum is coming in from Russia. However, Trump worked to sever our ties with Canada, and we had a more productive trading relationship with Canada. So hindsight should be 2020. We should be able to look back and see how his actions favored Russia and how they favored Russia at the expense of America.
Meanwhile, though, the the aluminum industry is complaining that Russian imports into North America have continued on their depressing price. Just touch on that theme. It is interesting, isn't it? Washington and Canada have not cut off Russian aluminum imports.
No, in fact, what has been done by both countries is to take away the most favored nation status on Russian imports from all types of products. But as you know, aluminum is like water. It looks for this path of least resistance to get the highest price. So what we see right now is that Russian metal is being sold at a discounted price wherever the market is a taker.
Just another indication of where Trump worked to benefit the Russian economy. America is overflooded with Russian aluminum foil and aluminum products. However, he put sanctions on Canada. I know this because I supply aluminum foil to restaurants and aluminum pans to restaurants, so I buy it in bulk. So that's how I know for a fact where the cheap aluminum is actually coming from. It's coming from Russia, and it's been coming from Russia.
Aluminum industry in this country, you've got three big players in smelting: Alcoa, Alouette, and Rio Tinto. There are 9 smelters, nearly all of them in Quebec. Canada is the 5th biggest global producer, but the 2nd biggest global exporter. But 83% of the primary aluminum from this country goes to the United States. So it's a substantial industry. Now, we've seen higher copper and aluminum prices this morning, paradoxically, after relatively weak manufacturing data from the States eased concerns about rising interest rates.
Hindsight should be 2020. Looking back at Trump's energy policies, his policies towards Iran, and the effects that they have on Americans today, we should understand how those actions were negative towards the American people.
Strong economic ties is vital to our mutual success, and we're going to continue to work closely together over the coming years so that Canadian and American families can get ahead.
America's trade relationship with Canada is responsible for millions of jobs on both sides of the border.
Having more jobs and trade right here in North America is better for both the United States and is also much better for Canada.
Trump called America's partnership with Canada outstanding.
I say that because we have to understand in business, price and value is based off of supply and demand. If the supply is less than the demand, then the value increases. And so Trump decreased the amount, the supply of oil on the international market, first with canceling the Iran energy deal, even though Iran was in compliance with the agreement, then placing Iran under international sanctions, preventing Iran from selling their oil to other areas, to other countries. I believe this was in preparation so that Russia would have the resources to continue their war on Ukraine, because it would make the rest of the world more dependent on Russia oil. Again, him targeting the NAFTA agreement we have with Canada when they are the 5th largest oil producer in the world, after he's already isolated the 7th world largest oil production nation. And not to mention the fact that America receives majority of Canada's oil, we send it through our refineries, ship it back to Canada at a surplus. Trump placed tariffs on Canada, meaning that America purchasing that oil from Canada had to pay a higher cost, a higher tax. So this also shows you his policies and how they added to inflation.
Canadians. We're known for a lot of great things, being really good at producing vast amounts of energy safely and responsibly.
Which is good because the world needs more and more of it every day, especially oil and natural gas, which we have in more abundance than maple syrup.
On a global scale, Canada is the 5th largest producer of natural gas in the world and the 6th largest producer of crude oil.
While we're good at producing oil and natural gas and getting it from here to here, we don't really have ways to get it from here to here. This creates challenges in both supplying energy to parts of our own country and exporting it to global markets to help them meet growing energy demands.
Which means we need to buy it from a lot of other places to supply the parts of our country we can't serve. And we sell it almost exclusively to the United States, who then sells some back to us at a premium.
Does it?
So why is that? Let's take a look.
Despite our abundant oil resources, our refineries process less than 30% of that oil. This is partly because some of the 16 refineries we have across Canada aren't directly connected to where our oil is being produced or where it needs to go.
But even if they were, they still wouldn't have the capacity to refine it all.
And building refineries is crazy expensive.
So we send most of our oil to the US where it can be refined, but we also import some back up to our refineries because access is easier from the States than across our own country.
So him cutting the putting the sanctions on Canada meant we paid more for Canada to purchase the oil, and then it made we hurt the incentive for Canada to purchase oil back from us because Canada responded with a turf in response. So you can clearly see how his policies were beneficial to Putin, because if you lower the amount of oil that's on the universal international market, then that makes Russia oil just that much valuable. So Russia needed a means to continue to be able to pay for an ongoing war. And how would they do that? And they would do that through oil productions. And how would they make other countries fear interfering in their actions is by threatening to cut off their oil supply after you've already had a Manchurian candidate in Trump who has limited the oil supply of other oil producing nations and interfered with America's most profitable oil deal, which was the trade deal we had with Canada. All this is evidence that Trump's actions acted in the best interest of Putin. This is why I say you are foolish to support Trump. Even though I say Biden is a racist as well, I'm just saying this right here shows Trump is bad for the country, period. But listen, let the idiot win, destroy the country. Ain't no need of black people running to the polls and saving the country for Europeans. Because that's all that happens when we go and vote Democrats in. They go and give out policies to benefit Europeans, like Biden did the infrastructure bill. There was nothing but jobs for white people. You go up and down any interstate, anywhere in the country, I guarantee you those are majority white people jobs.
By the year 2022, they continue to import over 3 million barrels per day from us.
But why import so much if they already have so much? One of the reasons is an increase in demand. But it's mainly because a lot of their refineries aren't set up to process their lighter shale oil. They were built to refine heavy oil, like that produced from our oil sands.
So rather than spending billions on new light oil refineries, they continue to import our heavy oil at a discount, then export their excess lighter crude and refined products to other countries, including ours, at a higher price.
Trump and Putin work to exploit this gap in our supply chain, far as us producing light oil in our refineries are built for more heavier oil production, which leave us dependent on others for the lighter oil, making us producers of the older, heavier oil. So Trump and Putin tried to exploit this weakness in the American supply chain in order to be able to twist American ankles if they was to support Ukraine in the war against Russia. See, I'm not on either side, but if you want a strong nation, then you don't want your nation to be vulnerable or to be manipulated by any outside source. So it's strange how the people who are claim to want to make America great again have no issue with making America vulnerable.
What does that mean for Canada's future energy relationship with the U.S.?
Well, the magic 8 ball isn't conclusive, but we're taking steps to get our energy to other markets, and we're innovating new technologies to leverage our natural resources in other ways, all in order to increase our trade partners and be less dependent on our neighbors to the south.
So, Canada's energy future is bright, and we can be a major supplier to the global market.
Plus,
This doesn't show you Trump is a bad businessman. I mean, we had a monopoly on Canada's oil and basically aluminum for about since the 80s, since the NAFTA deal first came into play. And this shows you how much of a bad businessman is. He hindered our ability to turn another country's natural resources into a product. I mean, it's not even our resources that we was able to use their natural resources to create jobs through the refinery and to export the oil to other countries off of something that wasn't even our resources, and he messed that up. Don't you tell me you think Trump is a good businessman. This dude's an idiot.